Hey, how you doing? And welcome back to Snook Plus. And today I've got some insane r/am I the asshole stories for you. And I love these videos, and I think you guys do too. So comment down below if you'd like to see more of these in the future. And thank you so much for stopping by. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It's a channel's goal to be at 10,000 subscribers, so please subscribe if you aren't already and share with some friends. I'm trying to get this channel to gain some traction, and I think it has the potential. So let me know down below how I can improve, what to change, etc. And just, yeah, without further ado, let's get into some insane r/am I the asshole stories. Am I the asshole for not wanting to do anything for my ex's unborn child? I, 24 male, have a son who's 5 with my ex Haley, who's 24 female. We broke up 3 years ago and we share custody of our son. Our relationship was bad before we broke up. I could never do anything right. Haley wanted to stay home with our son, so I worked extra hard to provide for us, but then she accused me of trying to keep her at home all the time by staying at work so late. Interesting, but let's keep going. If I took our son for the day, she'd accuse me of trying to come between them, but then if I spent time with him on and off throughout the day, she'd accuse me of not being involved enough. Oh boy. She didn't like my cooking, but complained when I didn't make her food. She also pissy when I'd make a packed lunch for her and when I made one just for me. She'd get pissy with me if I didn't want her to go out with her friends if I had work in the morning. She told me a single parent would deal with work and getting up with a kid so I could. But if she wanted to go somewhere in the morning, I better make sure I was there and waking up. It didn't matter that I was working crazy long hours so she didn't have to work. She told me to be a real man. She also hated that I wouldn't spend time with her family, but she always made shit up to them, so they hated me. Like I could be feeding our son or playing with him, and I was such an asshole for taking the baby from his mom according to the family. Or because I was playing with our son, I was a lazy bum who never worked and wanted their poor daughter/sister to work. And God, this poor guy is in a rough situation. His ex-girlfriend sounds horrible, but let's keep going. I broke up with her because it wasn't healthy and only got worse. Makes sense. Her family told me they were glad she was finally done with a piece of shit like me and she could do so much better. Aw, poor guy. A few months after we broke up, she started dating this other guy. Then she wanted me out of our son's life and she tried to file for sole custody, stating I didn't deserve to be a dad and I wasn't a good one. Her family all said I had poor character, it would not be a good influence on my son. The judge told them she should have chosen a different father then and our son had the right to a relationship with me. 50-50 was maintained, thank God. My ex had her boyfriend threaten me twice, and I reported him to the cops both times, which got him a pretty strong warning the second time since I recorded him at my door. They broke up 7 months ago because my ex is pregnant and he doesn't want a kid. For the past month, she's been asking me to take her son on as my own. She sent me scan photos. She sent me a photo of our son in a Big Brother to Big shirt. She sent baby photos of our son, saying her son could be a mini version of him and how he deserves a dad like our son has. She told me it would be cruel to have one with a dad and the other rejected by his, especially when it's the baby being rejected. I told her I wasn't going to raise her son and tie myself to her more. I told her she needs to find someone who'll be good to both of the boys and focus on that, or just be a good mom and trust her son will fine without a dad. Her family tried to convince me, but whenever I see them and they try this, I ignore them and walk on without acknowledging them. The change since I was the worst influence ever when it was our son and startling. The other night, my ex called me at 3 a.m. and I freaked out thinking something was wrong with her son. But instead, she was crying and worrying about our son and saying he needs me. I made it clear I'm not doing anything for her second child and she's on her own with him. I told her he will never be my son or my family and she needs to let it go. Ever since that call, her texts are angry instead of pleading and we're back to me being the worst. Am I the asshole for my stance? And to be honest, I don't know what you guys think about this, but I don't think he's the asshole because he just doesn't need to, handle her other son that he had nothing to do with. And this is just a really, really rough situation. And this poor girl's crazy. His ex-girlfriend's just obviously crazy and just the poor guy for having to deal with this. But I don't think he's the asshole for having this stance because if he doesn't, keep this stance, he's going to be walked on for the rest of his life and not have a say in anything. So I think he should hold strong, be in his son's life, but not try to have so much of a hand in her other, antics or anything. but this is a really complicated situation. So let me know what you think about it down below. Am I the asshole for making my sister pay back my daughter? My 42 female daughter, Brooke, who's 16, has been reading since she was 5. She has always loved books, and she would spend her allowance that we gave her on the newest book in the latest series that she was reading. It's pretty safe to say that her book collection is huge and filled with all kinds of limited edition and special edition books. Recently, she used her allowance to get a new special edition version of a book she already had because she has been saving up for it and was very excited to get it when it came out. Well, my sister, Lindsay, who's 36, came over on Saturday with her daughter, Mariah, who's 13, to spend time with us because it's been a while since we got to hang out and we were just catching up. Mariah started to head to Brooke's room, but I stopped her and told her that Brooke was out and she would be home in 20 minutes, so I suggested that she wait down here with us and tell me about how school was going. She talked for about 10 minutes before she said she had to go to the bathroom. We have 2 bathrooms in our house, our one upstairs and one downstairs, not including our en suite. Unfortunately, the downstairs one is having some issues, so I told her that it was okay to use the one upstairs for now until the one downstairs is fixed. She said okay and went upstairs. Okay, I think I know where this is going, but let's see. While I was talking to my sister Brooke, Brooke came home, said hi, and quickly went upstairs to change. She wasn't up there for 5 minutes when I heard a loud scream and quickly ran to check on my daughter. When I got to her room, my jaw dropped when I saw several of her books, including the new special edition one, destroyed and ripped pages everywhere and Brooke in tears of the destruction. Brooke is very non-controversial and hates arguing or fighting with people, so I stepped in for her. I told Mariah that she needs to apologize to Brooke, clean up the mess she made, and that she would no longer be welcome to my house. I then turned to my sister and told her that she needed to reimburse Brooke for the books that her daughter destroyed. Lindsay argued with me that Mariah was just a kid and she didn't know what she was doing, but I told her that Mariah is old enough to know right from wrong and what she did was wrong. Lindsay argued back that if my daughter didn't want her books to be touched, then they shouldn't have been out. I lost my cool and told her that they weren't out. They were put away in a room where Mariah wasn't allowed to be without Brooke's permission. Lindsay refused to pay Brooke back and called me a greedy before leaving with Mariah right behind her. Damn, this escalated fast. I told my husband about this, and he was absolutely on our side, and he agreed that Lindsay needs to pay back Brooke for the books that she lost and can't replace as they were special/limited edition that she can't get back. This whole thing has really blown up, and my side of the family is telling me that I'm being too hard on Mariah, as she's just a kid, but I don't think I am. She destroyed my daughter's property, and she needs to know that her actions have consequences. So I'm asking here, was I the asshole for demanding that my sister pay me back? And here's like a little update. I've seen some people ask, and I'm going to add a bit of information. Mariah has always had a fascination with Brooke's book collection, and last year Brooke let her borrow 2 books because Mariah said that she wanted to start reading, and since Brooke loves reading so much, she thought it was a good idea to let Mariah borrow a couple. Well, 2 weeks passed, and the books came back damaged. Nothing like this, but definitely not in a good condition anymore. So Brooke told her that she was not allowed to borrow her books anymore. Mariah was angry at that and yelled at my daughter, and since then, Brooke has kept Mariah away from her books. My husband and I think this is what caused Mariah to do what she did to Brooke's books. And to be honest, not the asshole at all, like not even close. Like, I don't understand why the hell this girl was acting that way. She's 13 years old. Like, if you were reading this story without the ages, you would think she's like 5 or 4. A 13-year-old ripping up books, like that's more than old enough to know right from wrong. Like, you're a teenager at that point, kind of young, but still. And to go upstairs and start ripping books, that is very childish. And she needs to be disciplined extensively, in my opinion. And of course, pay back the book damages. I mean, like, that's not crazy to ask at all, especially since they were limited edition, etc. But yeah, she needs to be paid back. Like, that's just insane that even her family is calling her the asshole. But I think all of you guys would be on my side about this, but she's not the asshole at all for asking to have the books reimbursed. Am I the asshole for calling the police after my wife assaulted our daughter? Oh boy, let's get into this. Hi folks of Reddit. My wife and I, after 20 years of marriage, are at a crossroads following an incident in December. We have 2 children, 17 male and 15 female, who are typically flexing their independence, though they're both really good kids, honest, smart, talented in their own ways. I'm going to be deliberately light on background here in order to keep this short-ish. I've suffered from chronic major depressive disorder my entire adult life, and one of the major failings of my condition is I don't cope with chronic stress well at all. Good in a crisis, quick to act rationally when I needed, but I tend to shut down with chronic stress. After 9 years in a very stressful IT role, I re-signed in November to take a break before looking for something less stressful. Last day was the Friday before Christmas. Historically, I've been the earner, the creative, the voice of reason, and the more academic achiever. My wife has always been the well-organized one, as well as the better cook. She's consistently been in high-level administrative roles since we met and earns a good income. She's generally an excellent parent when it comes to the day-to-day stuff, organizing holidays, social activities, all of that stuff. However, she has an angry streak, and I recently came to the realization that she's quite the covert narcissist. Over the last few years, we've clashed quite a bit about how we raise the kids. In the last few months, we've clashed heavily about our daughter's new boyfriend. He's a very nice kid, respectful, sweet to my daughter. They're madly in love, it seems. Unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, he has altered our daughter's perspective on what a normal family looks like and how it operates. For perspective, my wife has generally ruled the family and generally has things her way. I tend to give in whenever there's a conflict, as I like to keep the peace, so the kids have never really enjoyed the flexibility or independence they liked. Now that our daughter has seen how different, read better, it can be, she's rebelled. Late last year, she left to stay with her boyfriend's family without our knowledge. After several days of us trying to convince her to return home, she only agreed to return if changes were made in the home. Evidently, the changes weren't substantial enough, and only a few weeks later, she left again. I was sympathetic to our daughter's position while my wife started referring to her as a lost and told me I'd have to deal with her in the future. She came home but spent as much time away as possible as she wasn't comfortable at home. This prompted me to initiate a discussion with my wife about our poor communication. I suggested a marriage counselor to help reconcile our differences and help us find a healthier means to communicate, as we usually spiral into losing her temper and me giving in to keep the peace. Not healthy. Over the remainder of the year, I'd suggested this numerous times as we'd grown increasingly distant, to the point I'd spend nights sleeping on the couch. I'd also recommended she look into anger management some years ago when our son went through this phase. Ironically, her response to this was, "Go fuck yourself." After discussing my mental state with my doctor, he recommended I should talk to a psychologist. So I'd had 2 sessions in December to address depression and burnout, as well as the state of our marriage. Bear in mind that I just reassigned and was under ridiculous pressure to hand over 9 years of my role to 2 staff who were just not equipped to take it on. On Christmas Day, I put on my best brave face and tried to enjoy the day with my wife's family. Food, drink, I try to keep in the spirit. However, with the work stress I'd suffered and leaving my role only days before, plus the lack of sleep over the recent months, I simply wasn't feeling it after 5 hours and decided to take myself home. That evening, the wife said things needed to change. I agreed and again suggest a marriage counselor. She again refused as she's convinced I'm the only one with a problem. She's perfect. I'm the one who needs to change. I said, I can't go to marriage counseling for both of us. And that's where it was left. We didn't talk much after that. We had made no plans to New Year's Eve, nor any annual trip over the school holidays. Australia, the long break is over Christmas in January. It was tense, and I found it extremely difficult to talk to her as every conversation about anything meaningful become a fight. So the incident occurs before New Year's Day. Our daughter is at the train station after seeing her boyfriend that day and called to see if one of us can collect her to save the 20-minute walk. Being a Sunday, the buses aren't very regular in our suburbs, so the wife goes to get her. Evidently, in the car on the trip home, the wife mentions New Year's Eve at her sister's house, while our daughter says she's already made plans with her boyfriend as we didn't have any. I later found out my wife had made plans on Christmas Day for the family and simply hadn't told us. I'd also known about my daughter's plans, but hadn't mentioned them to my wife as I wasn't aware we had any other plans. They're arguing about it as they walk to the front door, and I'm sitting quietly on the couch. We had a 3-way argument about who knew what and what we were going to do. I side with my daughter and support the notion that she keeps her plans, which is met with daggers from my wife. So she focuses on me and the fact that I haven't supported her position, which develops into an argument about how we don't communicate. When I point out the reason we don't communicate is always ends in a fight, she decides to follow my daughter into her bedroom to verbally attack her next. I'm bracing for the usual verbal tirade, followed by silent treatment for a few days. Then I hear my daughter scream from her bedroom. I leap into action and round the door to see my daughter on the floor in a defensive position with arms around her head. My wife standing over her with blind rage on her face. I grab my wife's wrist and scream at her to get out, though she quickly pulls away. I think I must have made the subconscious realization that if I continued this line of action, it will be me in the back of a police car. So instead, I repeatedly order my wife to get out without leaving the room. At this stage, I don't actually know what's happened as I didn't see anything. She eventually leaves the room and we're arguing in the lounge room. All the while, I'm ordering her to leave the house, knowing full well that when she gets this angry, it takes considerable time for her to calm down. I just want her out so I can see my daughter. She refuses to leave, even after I threaten to call the police. So I tell my daughter to join me and her brother in the front room while I make the call. The Christmas tree suffers her wrath next, and shards of glass from ornaments now litter the lounge room. And okay, the story is not over, but this lady has some serious problems, and I kind of understand where the police think is going to happen, because if she's throwing glass around and hitting her daughter, of course, she needs help. But let's keep going. After several minutes on the phone, all the while I'm telling my daughter I haven't given them any address details and can hang up at any moment, I eventually gave the operator the address and details of the domestic violence. After I'm advised a unit is being dispatched and end the call, I let her know that the police are on their way. I think she realized I wasn't bluffing and begins packing a bag in a rage, then leaves. Of course, I call the emergency line back and ask them to cancel the unit, but they advise that given the type of incident, they will probably come anyway. After the incident isn't the usual reports, statements, intervention order, court hearings, etc. 3 of us are now living in the house and the wife has very little contact. I don't know the outcome of the criminal hearing as we weren't required to be present. We've had a few face-to-face meetings to discuss what to do next, and I've also made it clear that this is the end of our marriage. I've suggested that an apology to our daughter would be a good place to start, though nearly 6 weeks later, none is forthcoming. At our last meeting, I wanted to discuss how she can hum and fix things for the kids' sake, but she was struck by her stance on the incident. She asked me if I regret calling the police and if I'm sorry for how it's affected her. For perspective, I learned later that my wife had slapped my daughter in the face, thrown her to the floor, and kicked her before I entered the room. Of course, in the calm light of a new day, I absolutely felt I'd done the right thing to protect my daughter. However, my wife believes we could have handled all of this without the police involved and that she is the victim. She's hiding the details of the incident from her family to protect my reputation with her family. There are a couple of other little nuggets of conversation she'd relayed which indicate that the people she has talked to about this are all shocked as I've been such a gentleman in the past. She's playing the victim card. Hard. Finally, I'll be the first to admit I'm not the perfect husband or father. Depression and COVID have certainly taken a lot from me, and I do wish I could be better than I am. I have no doubt that my condition has had a considerable impact on my wife's state of mind. I'm also acutely aware that it's not really easy for you folks to make impartial judgments based solely on the statements of one party. That being said, am I the asshole for calling the police? And I do not think this guy's the asshole for calling the police. That was a scary situation from at least our perspective, that she hit her daughter, throwing ornaments, glass around. Like, that is ridiculously dangerous. And this wife was obviously very mentally unstable. And I think she's just, like you said in the beginning, a full-blown narcissist. And there's really no help in that unless they want help. And so I think ending the marriage might be the only way to really solve this, because he did everything. He suggested everything: marriage counseling, therapy, all the other things he wanted his wife to do or together to fix things, but she wouldn't listen. So what else can you do? So I think divorce is the, next best thing, sadly. But yeah, I don't think he's the asshole at all. Let me know what you think about this long story down below. Am I the asshole for refusing to help my sister with her children and telling her she chose her shitty life, so now she has to deal with it? Whoa. Let's see if that bold title stays true. Hi, Reddit. My whole family thinks I'm the asshole, but I disagree, or maybe think it's justified. When my sister, 26 female, and I, 24F, were kids, we hated each other. My sister was very hard to get along with, and she never had any friends as a result of this. She's the type of person who always thinks she's right and can never apologize or admit when she's wrong. As an adult, she still has no friends. She decided to drink the trad wife Kool-Aid. She met her husband in college, got pregnant, and dropped out. They have 4 children under the age of 8 together, and the youngest is a quadriplegic due to spinal damage and a birth defect. I just finished law school and I'm starting my career. My husband already has an established career and we're dinks. We don't intend on having any children. My sister has historically talked down to us at family events. She says we don't even understand what we're missing out on. We'll never know what true and unconditional love is, etc. Very condescending as always. Lately, her and her husband have been fighting. Apparently, per my mother, he has never let her access his income. He gives her cash for groceries. The bills and stuff have always been in his name. Apparently, he's cheating too. My sister has asked for me to watch her kids on the weekends so she can save up money to be able to evaluate her options, aka leave her husband. When she came to me and asked this, I asked her, but isn't being a traditional wife your calling? You've told us this several times. You must have forgotten, but traditional wives aren't supposed to work. I kind of laughed at how she explained that maybe being a trad wife isn't for her after all. Eventually, I just shut her down and told her that she picked this life. The life that she has always insisted is so superior to mine. Time to learn to deal with the problems that come with it. My parents can't watch her kids because dad is at work on an oil pipeline and mom is too old to be working the hours she is already working. Our other relatives don't live close enough to do it. She also asked my parents to move in with them, and my dad shut it down. He can't really stand her kids. Am I the asshole? And I don't think this one is one full asshole and the other not the asshole. I think he could just be helpful. I understand she was a very mean person, but I think he is starting to be an asshole. If you just help out the kids, if you can, help out, if you have extra time, why not just help the kids? It's not the kids' fault they're in the situation. Help her get her life back on track and maybe just be a nice person. And even though she was an asshole to you, that doesn't mean you need to be an asshole back, But I think this one can kind of go either way, but I think he's kind of being the asshole, but kind of not. But let me know what you think about this one down below. Am I the asshole for breaking up with my boyfriend because he lost my dog? Hello everyone, it is my first time posting anything on here and English is not my first language. Please keep in mind, I've been crying for the past 2 days. Sorry for any mistakes. Me, who's 24 female, and my boyfriend, who's 24 male, have been together for almost 4 years. We get along okay for the most part. Things like him losing something of mine have happened, but never to this level. I have had my dog Milo, 12 female, for her whole life. We grew up together and it's really hard for her to get to trust other people. She has always been an anxious girl, but she is the light of my life and was always by my side, even in my worst days. 6 years ago, I introduced my boyfriend to my family, which is just my mom and Milo. He and my mom got along okay, but he did not acknowledge Milo in any way, which is fine. I did not expect him to be all over her, considering she does not like that. But I still found it pretty strange because he said he absolutely loved dogs, and to be honest, I believe that because he would always pet dogs when we were outside, any interaction for the past 3 years with her was limited. But Milo warmed up to him. She would greet him, go to him for pets, which he gave, and accepted him on our daily walks. 1.5 years ago, Milo got sick. She had a tooth infection, which was pretty bad. Her whole right eye was swollen shut. I asked my boyfriend to take us to the vet because I don't have a car. The vet took care of the infection, gave me some antibiotics to give her every day, and instruction to clean the wound that she was left after the vet cleaned the pus. For a couple of weeks, I did not hang out that much with my boyfriend. I took care of Milo because she was not feeling great. One thing that stood out to me was the fact that he seemed pretty pissed every time I brought her up, talking about her progress, and looking back, that should have risen some red flags, but I guess I brushed it off. Now that I gave you the short version of the past, this is what's happening in the present. I planned with my mom to go on a short vacation to visit my grandparents. I was talking to my boyfriend about this trip and I told him who would take care of Milo, my best friend, Alex, 23M. My boyfriend then offered to take care of her. He was mad that I did not come first to him, stating that he loves Milo and wants to go on walks with her. I reluctantly agreed, considering this love for her was out of the blue. The trip was supposed to last 3 days. On day 2, I was talking with my boyfriend on the phone, and he casually says that Milo really likes to stay outside. For me, this felt off and asked him what he meant. He left my sweet girl outside hours at a time alone and would check up on her hourly. Mind you, I live in an apartment and I don't have a backyard. Me and my mom left as soon as I told her, and we arrived back home at around 9 p.m. Since then, I blocked my boyfriend on everything, and I've been searching for my girl. I've printed posters, went out every day for hours at a time, and put her on Facebook groups around my area. If you have any advice of something more I could do, please let me know. Now he and his friend group say I'm an asshole because I've put my dog above my boyfriend in all of our 4 years of relationship. I know for a fact this is not true, but I don't have anyone else to ask besides people that are really close to me who would be biased. I'm sorry for the long post. My mind is all over the place. And before I give my opinion, there is actually an update she provided, so let's get into the update. Hi, a lot of people asked me for an update. I should have waited until I got some rest, but you were all so helpful and you deserve to know how this ended. My ex came today to get his stuff, and some of you might be happy for what you are about to read, but he did not get a single thing back. When he saw me, he started begging me to forgive him, and thanks to you again, I agreed to forgive him if he told me the truth. He just looked me straight in the face and said, "If I'm going to be honest, you won't forgive me." My heart broke all over again, thinking about the worst things. When he saw me cry, he told me I should get over it because she was already old, but if I really wanted her back, I should get back with him, and when he trusts me that I really forgave him, I could see her again. I was exhausted, hopeless, and angered, and even though I wanted my girl back, I could not look at him, let alone be with him for however long he thought it took me to forgive him, so he left, not telling me a single thing about Milo. I got a call some hours later, and on the other end was a lady who found Milo on the side of the road. She told me she would wait for me to come because when she wanted to pick her up, she seemed to be in pain. When I got there and saw her laying there, all my emotions flooded me. My sweet baby, even though she looked so different, was alive. She's now staying overnight at the vet. She has 2 broken ribs and is dehydrated. If everything goes well, she will be home soon. I appreciate each and every one of you that took the time to guide me in this nightmare. Thank you again. I will be pressing charges. And last update for a while. I have pressed charges and now have a lawyer. I unblocked my ex, like some of you said, and it was the best thing I did. He has incriminated himself, and my lawyer believes he has a chance of winning. Also, I might be able to get a protection order. His friend group has apologized. His mom is in contact with me. Milo will be home later today, and she has a very good chance of making a full recovery, at least physically. My locks will be changed tomorrow. Thank you all so much. I'm sending you and your pets the warmest hugs. And for all the people that wanted to see my girl. Okay, like she said in the beginning, there is a language barrier here, so maybe she left out some stuff, but I'm a little bit lost, so I'm going to try my best to be a detective, I guess, and fill in the blanks. So I think she's accusing the guy, or the guy actually did, let the dog out on purpose just because he didn't like the dog, and just let it run out into the street or whatever, and just let it get lost. And now I assume that happened, which is a very shitty thing to do. And yeah, I don't think she's the ass for breaking up with her because he lost her dog on purpose. And 4 years is a really long time, but I don't think that's okay, no matter what. I mean, that's your dog of 12 years. Like, come on, you don't get rid of your dog like that. And thank God the dog made a full recovery, or is. And yeah, just a weird story. And I really wonder why he hated the dog that much to kind of hurt it or just let it loose. That's a really weird situation, to be honest. And she's not the ass breaking up with him, but that guy's just a weird dude, in my opinion. But yeah, that wraps up this insane r/am I the asshole stories. This was a long video, 30 minutes. Let me know what you guys think about this longer videos down below. You guys have been asking for it for a while since all my older videos were like 10-ish minutes. So let me know down in the comments below. Would you like to see more long videos like this? And yeah, thanks for watching to the end. It means the world. You guys are the best. Please subscribe and like the video if you haven't already. It's the channel's goal to get 10K, and we're getting really close. So please subscribe. And yeah, all right. This was Snook Plus, and I'll see you next time.